Hello everyone, this is Azarelis and we are back again, and today we're going to be going ahead and talking about the Mage. You might be thinking to yourself, why are you on your Shaman if you are going to be playing your Mage and talking about him? Well, there's a very good reason for that, and that is Focus Magic. I will go ahead once we swap over to the Mage and I will show you Focus Magic as well. Uh, I wanted to go ahead and start here because I want to tell you right now, you need an Elemental Mage in your raid, or an Elemental Shaman in your raid. Not only do they bring the best, hands down, the best spellcaster buffs with their lineup of totems, 5% melee, or 5% spell haste. Sorry, I just woke up. 5% spell haste. They have 280 spell power from the Totem of Wrath, uh, and of course mana regen, with which every caster needs. This lineup right here is the best buffs you can get in the game for caster DPS. But this has nothing to do with what I'm talking about right now. Focus Magic is a spell, which I will show you here, that makes it so every time the person crits, they give the mage 3% for 10 seconds. 3% spell critical for 10 seconds. The reason you want your highest DPS mage, which is undoubtedly going to be an arcane mage, uh, the reason you want to have him or her put their focus magic onto the elemental shaman is that it is guaranteed in their rotation. So, Lava Burst has an 8-second cooldown. Flame Shock is instant cast, 4-second cooldown. It doesn't matter. It's always going to be up. So, the rotation for a elemental shaman always starts with Flame Shock and then Lava Burst. That means that every 8 to 9, possibly 10 seconds, the exact duration of focus magic, it is a guaranteed crit. Guaranteed. If Flame Shock is on the target and Lava Burst hits the target, it will crit. So, that's why you want focus magic on an elemental shaman. So you combine both of these things with the fact that an elemental shaman gives these amazing buffs and focus magic and a guaranteed crit within the time frame of the focus magic's duration. You're talking about keeping that 3% crit on the mage forever, as long as the elemental shaman is doing what they're supposed to be doing. So keep that in mind. You absolutely need an elemental shaman in your raid to bolster your ranged spell-based DPS. Okay, so let's hop over to my mage so we can really dig into the big deal here. I know I'm only 77, but just to let you guys know, if you've ran into this video, I have played mage since I started playing this game. I have played so many mages, it's silly. On different servers, all over the place. I've lost accounts that had mages on them. I've rebuilt from the ground up. I know a lot about the mage class, a metric ton, and even more now that I've gone through Wrath Classic. Again, I've gone through Classic and then TVC and then Wrath. So, with the mage, the first thing I want to talk about, well, let's go ahead and let's show you Focus Magic real quick, which is right, where did I put that? Oh, it's right here. Focus Magic increases the target spell critical hit by 3%. That, of course, is going to help out your Elemental Shaman. But the most important part is down there in the bottom right where it says, when the target critically hits, when the target critically hits, the caster's chance to critically hit with spells is increased by 3% for 10 seconds. That means you are always going to have focus magic up. It is never going to go down as long as your elemental shaman continues to do their rotation. Because every single 8 seconds for a shaman, they want to be hitting the target with a lava burst. Now, so obviously that doesn't matter in AoEs because they have 2 separate AoEs. Elemental shamans do. They have their fire nova and their lightning or chain lightning, both of which are essentially going to guarantee crits anyway. So they're going to proc it that way. Also, there's a whole deal where you weave in your lava bursts into your AoE rotation. I don't really want to get into that because I'm still struggling with it myself, but I am getting better at it. But you absolutely can. There are time periods where you would be normally waiting on your shaman for your lightning bolt and your fire nova to come back up, where you can weave in lava burst and you can increase your overall DPS that way in AoE pulls. But as I'm about to talk about with the mage, nobody really cares about your AoE damage. Pretty much all classes of DPS in this game have decent forms of AoE, so it's not really that big of a deal. You actually should not be speccing your kit for AoE damage because there's no reason. Trash mobs will go down, and you're talking about whether you're specced into it or not. You're talking about maybe a minute, maybe 60 seconds of a difference to the time frame that it will take for the AoE pull to go down. So there is no point. I want to rephrase that again, or I want to say that again. There is no point to putting points into things that increase your AoE damage. An arcane mage does perfectly acceptable AoE DPS without any points into things like Firestorm or World in Flames or going into Frost. There is no point. You're just wasting points. Now, I need to cover this because I have just told you something that is going to be counter to pretty much what everybody else is talking about for the mage. There's two main functions that you need to understand as a mage in raid content or in heroics, wherever you are. And that is that your sole purpose nowadays is to do DPS. There are plenty of options for CC. Oftentimes you will see raids go ahead and ask for something other than a sheep. Some old schoolers will still ask for a sheep. And you should be ready to go ahead and sheep targets for people. I have my sheep on one of my mouse buttons. You should be willing to do that for your raid. But oftentimes, people are either not going to ask for a CC, or they're going to ask a different class to do it because there's plenty of different ways to go ahead and CC targets. There are a couple pulls here and there that use mage kiting, but in almost all of those circumstances, someone else would be better at that task anyway. So, do what you want, do what your raid leader wants, but the fact of the matter is that an arcane mage needs to be putting things into points to make it a better arcane mage. Okay? And you're going to see a couple things in my arcane tree here where people are not, where other people who are showing you builds on YouTube and things like that are not going to do. Because they're wasting their points. One of the big ones is Prismatic Cloak. Another big one is Arcane Meditation. Let me say it one more time just for emphasis. No one cares about your AoE DPS. The only reason you're trying to keep your AoE DPS up is because you're addicted to being at the top of the charts. What's more important for a mage is to increase their mana stability. Arcane Meditation is to increase their ability to survive things that they wouldn't otherwise survive. Prismatic Cloak. You should be putting your points into ways to become a better arcane mage rather than wasting points elsewhere that really don't matter. You have to remember, you either have 10 people or you have 25 people, okay? There are plenty of people to deal damage to trash mobs. Plenty. You do not need maxed out AoE DPS. It doesn't serve any purpose. All you're doing is weakening your overall build and weakening your ability to be a mage. Okay, so the mage has two main functions. You don't want to die, and you don't want to run out of mana. Either one of those circumstances makes you entirely useless to the raid. So you have all sorts of things in your kit to help you with your mana problems as an arcane mage. You have all sorts of buffs that people give that help you with your arcane mage, or that help you with your mana. Plus, you have the ability to go ahead and take a couple points into things that will go ahead and help you with that as well. This is where your points should be going as a mage. You should not be dumping them into things like Firestorm. Or, I keep calling this Firestorm. World in Flames. You should not be going down here and wasting points into piercing ice so that you can get, ice shards so that you can get some more AoE DPS. It is totally unnecessary, and it is a waste of points. You're going to end up being that mage that's laying there dead because you didn't have 6% reduction to all damage taken and a 3-second reduction to how quickly your invisibility spell goes off. You're going to be that mage that runs out of mana because you didn't take Arcane Meditation. 3 points into Arcane Meditation and 3 points into Student of the Mind. Okay? So, that takes a long time. This whole thing takes a long time, and the next thing's going to take a long time too. The next thing I want to talk about is the Arcane Fire build. Now, this was a build that was in high demand. I think I messed up this build, but let me pull it up anyway. Yeah, I messed up this build somewhere. I don't remember where it was. No, that looks about right. Oh, I remember what I did. You wanted to ignite. Yeah, okay. So how did I do that? Let me fix this. This build was actually in pretty high demand back in the day. Okay? We don't want that because it's not going to do us any good because it doesn't matter. We're not going to be using Pyroblast in this build. You can, but we'll get into that here in a sec. Just hold your horses. We want 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom. Okay, so what you're doing in this build, which, like, I'm going to tell you again, is in high demand, or it was in original Wrath Classic, because there is one thing in the fire tree that's actually beneficial. Now, you can build a mage that is full fire that is good if you have the gear. You need to build your fire mage and build the proper gear for him to be that high on DPS, for him to be actually a really, really good function in your raid. So keep that in mind. It has a huge thing that is required. So if you want to be a fire mage, be ready for the long haul on building your fire mage. That's why people wanted this build right here in their raid. The reason I know about this is because I was there and I was requested to run a build like this because I didn't have the gear to be a straight up fire mage. But we still wanted this. This is the most important thing in either a fire mage build or the arcane fire build. And we'll talk specifically about this arcane fire build here in a second, okay? We'll get into it. Don't worry about it. Improved Scorch gives 5% increase critical strike to everyone attacking the target for spells. It is literally identical to Elemental Oath and Druid's Boom Kenora. It gives 5% increased spell critical strike. I actually ran into one mage so far that was running this build. Was it kitted out properly? No, it wasn't. Was it set up properly? No, it wasn't. Either that or he didn't understand what the most important part of this build is. It is this improved Scorch. Because once you have Boomkin Aura or Elemental Oath, and you have improved Scorch on the target, that's a full 10% increased critical strike. That's huge. That is huge. So keep that in mind. Now, the way this build works is it goes through, these points don't matter. It really sucks because back in the day, people assumed that this meant all spells. Increase your chance to hit. So we thought that meant everybody. to just flat hit for everything, and reduces the mana cost of your arcane spells by 3%. We used to think that that applied to all spells. It does not apply to all spells. So all 5 of these points are wasted. You can put them here or you can put them here. Neither of them matter. So just to let you know, you're never going to use arcane missiles anyway in this build. Then you're going clear casting, you're going spirit, student of the mind, focus magic, torment of the weak. So the whole point behind the arcane fire build on the mage in Wrath Classic is that you are going to be maintaining your slow on the target. You're going to be maintaining your improved scorch on the target. So those should be your first 2 spells in your rotation. You want to maintain your slow, maintain your scorch, and the rest of it is quite literally spamming fireball. Non-stop spamming fireball. That's the whole entire deal. You are just spamming and spamming and spamming and spamming and spamming and spamming, and so you get yourself some haste, you get yourself some more crit, you get yourself some mana stability, and you are spamming fireballs all day long. Now, why does this work? Well, you've got 12% from Torment of the Weak. You've got an additional 3% increased damage from Arcane Empowerment. That's 15%. You get another 3% from playing with fire. So now we're at 18. And you get another 10% from firepower, meaning you have a full 28% increased damage to your fireball. Flat. Am I telling you this is going to absolutely top the charts? Not necessarily. It certainly can be a contender. That's for darn sure. But you're hitting fireballs and fire blast every time it comes off of cooldown. So fire blast every single time it comes off of cooldown, and you're just spamming fireballs like the world's coming to an end. Like you just, like it's your way to survive. So you get your proc off of focus magic. You get your, which is going to give you another 3%. So now you've got 8% just in your kit, giving you crit. Then you've got Glyph of Molten Armor, which is also going to make 55% of your spirit turn into crit when you have Molten Armor on. So let's hop in here. I'm on my mage, right? Okay. So this glyph is crucial pretty much to every build. Every single build on the mage. The reason for this is because Molten Armor allows you to fully scale. The reason Arcane is way out in front of everybody else on DPS for Arcane for Mage is because it scales. It is the best scaling build for a Mage. Down here you get Student of the Mind, Mind Mastery. I just keep messing up these names. Which is going to make it so that your spell power increases by 15% of your total intellect. And then you also have Molten Armor with the Glyph, which is going to make you have 55% of your spirit. This means that you are going to scale completely. So, how to optimize your build as a mage? Obviously, this is only a level 77 mage, so I can't fully show you. What I'm going to be pointing out, though, is how you'll notice as I'm looking at this stuff that I kind of have some stuff that otherwise would be normally thought of as healer gear. My helm, giving me some spirit. You don't want to stack spirit. You don't want that to be your main priority. But you do want to go for those things that have stam, intellect, and spirit. Because just scaling off of what is given to you on spirit isn't enough. The more base spirit you have just as an additional function on your mage is going to make it that much more useful when you get kings from a paladin. Because the paladin is giving you X%, I think it's like 10% increase to all of your stats. So the more spirit you have, the more spirit you're going to get off of that amount. And then of course there's Gift of the Wild from druids that is also going to increase your stats. You want some baseline spirit in your build. And not only just because of that, you want some just because, you know, a mage without mana is utterly and completely useless to everyone, everywhere. So there's no point. So you are going to get into a couple arguments with people. It's going to happen because they're going to say, "Oh no, that's healer gear. You don't want that," because they don't know. They don't know actually how a mage works. There's a lot of people who go through this game and they will never touch a class like the mage. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but I'm not going to get into it because it would make this video literally an hour. But I'm aiming for 20 to 30 minutes. There's so much stuff to talk about with the mage. If you've never played a mage before, here's my recommendation. Don't play it as your first character. Go play a better class like an elemental shaman or a boomkin druid or something like that. Something that has healing, some armor, that kind of stuff. Play one of those. A paladin is a great choice for a first character as well. Play one of those and then get yourself some heirlooms and then give them to your mage. You know, get yourself the staff of Jordan and that kind of stuff, and the 2 pieces that give you experience, increased experience gain. You're going to have a much more fun time playing a mage if you do that. Especially with the trinket that also gives you mana regeneration, gives you 2% of your mana back every time you kill a target that yields experience or honor. It's great. So, I have tried to make this video so many times, and I have screwed it up, so I'm going to wrap this up. Long story short, there's more going on in the mage class. If you are going to be either running a fire mage or an arcane fire mage, do not do that class without maintaining improved Scorch. Holy smokes. You are just... I don't understand why anyone would skip out on this. Well, I do, kind of. It's because it's a detriment to your DPS. You go ahead and Scorch doesn't do diddly squat for damage, even if you get the glyph that does 20% increased damage for it. It just never does any good damage, so you need to be using your improved Scorch. It's just one of those things. You got to take one for the team, guys. That is such a good buff to be added on top of other buffs, like Elemental Oath or the Boomkin Aura. It's so good. 5% increased spell critical for everyone is fantastic. So just remember that. If you're leveling as a mage, this is for those of you who might have listened to what I've said and you think, hey, you know what? I feel like playing a mage. It is very, very simple. Are you leveling and are you not in Northrend? Be a Frost Mage. It's the best. There's a fundamental concept that is what the mage is all about. And that is you are trying to kill the target before it gets to you, or you are trying to do enough damage to the target that it only takes a couple of casts, if any, to kill them once they're in your face. There is no amount of armor, there is no amount of survivability, there's nothing like that that is going to save your mage from death. They are not a face-to-face fighter. That's not what they do. They are designed to die when they get face-to-face with targets. The best way to stop that is to go with Frost while you're leveling. So, you just prioritize things like your CC. The first couple of points, you go Frostbolt into Precision and Permafrost, and then you think about going into things that increase your frost damage, because your CC is the most important. You want range in the end. You want as much range as you can get and as much CC as you can get, along with Blizzard, those kind of things. As for once you're in Northrend and you hit level 70, you really should go get used to being an Arcane Mage, because it is the best spec. But Arcane is... it takes a while to get used to for players. So you absolutely could. If you're enjoying playing Frost, by all means, play Frost. All the way. It doesn't matter. Just keep being a Frost Mage if you like being a Frost Mage. Same thing goes for Fire. But Fire just... The problems with Fire is that it's a lot of fun way late in the game, where you're playing the little mini game of your hot streak procs. And that's where your real damage comes from in Fire, is your hot streak procs and managing your living bombs. But there's just a lot going on in the fire spec that really doesn't serve a lot of purpose, and its damage isn't really quite as high as you would hope for a fire mage to be. So the best two specs to be in this game are Arcane and Frost. So there you go. But like I said earlier, the Arcane Fire build, try it out. If you already have your dual talent spec, try going in there and doing that spec and see how much you can push. And let me know in the comment section below, because I never was able to get fully kitted out back in the day. I don't remember what exactly happened to our raid, but I remember that after a while I ended up stopping going and raiding and stuff, so I never really got to make it fully come online with a properly built set of gear for it. So just keep that in mind. Don't ignore your spirit on the mage. I know everybody says stam int stack for the mage. Don't ignore your spirit. Don't ignore the most important thing I've said in this video. Do not ignore your ability to be a better mage. Not putting 3 points into a thing that gives you a reduction of all damage by 6% is insane to me. And I can guarantee you that's why I was dying a lot back in the day. I can guarantee you that's why a lot of arcane mages die, is because they're following those people who are saying, oh, but you put your other points into these things that give you more AoE. So we're going to end this video on one more note, and that is the same thing I said earlier. No one cares about your AoE DPS. You do not build your class to fight trash mobs. You build your class to be the best it can be against bosses. So, like, comment, subscribe. All that kind of jazz. If you want to help out the channel, I have a donation link in the description below, as I don't make money on YouTube or Twitch. So, yeah, thank you. We'll talk more about Mage in the future. I'll go ahead and keep you guys updated on my Elemental Shaman as well as this in the future. So thanks for watching. Peace out. I'll see you on the next one.